Welcome back to That Impact Show. I'm your host, Shar Moore. Today we're joined by a man named Curtis Matsko. As a serial entrepreneur who has mastered the art of digital marketing, Curtis Matsko has revolutionized the leather goods industry with his brand, Portland Leather Goods. What started as a friendly challenge of creating a leather journal out of scraps has since skyrocketed into a $100,000 apparel and accessories brand with fans across the country. Curtis, welcome to our show today.
Welcome. And that's $100 million apparel and accessory
What did
brand.
I say? 100,000?
Is that $100,000, which I hope we'll do by noon today. That's okay.
Well, clearly it's not a number I'm used to saying, but there was too many zeros. It made me googly-eyed. My goodness, what an achievement. Do you want me to redo that? I can redo it if you'd like.
No, of course not. You said you want this to be real, and what's more real than messing up right off the go?
Oh, exactly. Well, we've got to go up from here, right? I love it. I love it. Look, Curtis, I'm sure that a lot of friends listening may have heard of your brand, but maybe they don't know how it started. And I think for us on Impact 1 Million, we want to impact 1 million lives. And I think by sharing that opening story, how did this start? But even go further back, where did you get this seed of entrepreneurial idea from? How did it start?
Well, a story always is where you start it. And, I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I'm always competitive. I'm always trying to prove myself. I'm always trying to be overly creative. So I'm always doing the weird stuff as the youngest. So it all starts there. This particular idea came about because my girlfriend at the time had a really bad job. And I said, quit your job. And she said, what am I going to do if I quit my job? And I said, oh, I haven't told you, I'm a genius. I know how to do internet marketing like no one's business, and I could create $100 million company. And she's like, does not believe it. And she's like, what are we going to sell? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea. And the next day I took a scrap of leather. I made a little leather journal. I showed it to her. I said, this is it. And she's like, you're an idiot. Yeah, that is absolutely a terrible idea. But she quit her job and said, what do you want me to do? And I said, I'll be the energy. I'll create the vision and I'll push us forward. You just have to do what I promise people. So I'll say, I'm going to write Shar that email back. Shar, I'm never going to email you back. I'm always going to forget, right? I'm that other side of it. So she sat with her MacBook on our couch and did the stable everyday type of things of following up on my promises. And I created the energy. And then we met a young lady, came and started working $10 an hour. Her husband was a professional poet. And the day I met her, I said, this is the founding day of this company. She's now the COO, runs 1,000 different employees all around the world. And we built this up in 7 years. And it's really not just a company on a formula, that type of thing. We built it on people. And there's just no doubt about that. We built it on not just our customers, but the people that we hire, the people that we meet. I've been telling people this a lot. It's not so much formula. You got to be a wizard. It's a lot about magic. You can't take the gambles and the steps that we take without knowing that somehow it's magically going to work out. Because otherwise you'd just be too afraid to do the things that we've done as quickly as we've done them.
Yeah, wow. I've got a billion questions here. Not 100 million. I've got a billion. Okay. There's a secret sauce there that I'd love to unpack for our friends listening. Yeah. You talk about those key moments and having that vision and standing there going, well, if I can make this, I'm a genius. I'm going to go off and do this and create a big business. Then you talked about the woman you hired for $10 an hour, who's now your COO. So people is absolutely at the key and I guess at the heart of all of this, right? So take us through how, there's obviously a lot of steps in between that and this in 7 years, my goodness. But take us through those key decisions. When did you know it was the right time to hire more people? What do you look for when hiring someone? Let's dive in there first.
I've done a lot of podcasts, and I work with a lot of business owners who ask for my advice, and they always want a secret formula. They always want a secret sauce. And my gift, as I said, was being youngest of four boys, is literally people, is judging people, of understanding them, of making them be real in an interview, of finding out something extra about them. They think it's weird. It'll be the weirdest interview they've ever had in their entire life. I'll be moving around and I'll be talking about anything but their resume. And they'll leave after an hour and say, he couldn't have possibly learned anything about me. And I learned. Our CFO is a young lady. She just turned 27. And I was talking to her and her husband. And he said, how did you know when you interviewed her? She was the one. She left that interview thinking, I screwed that up.
Wow.
And I said, the one little thing I got out of it was, she is determined. She will not be stopped. He said, she said that in the interview. And I said, no, but I could tell. And he said, that is her. That is her. She's working 10 o'clock at night, making sure. So one of the beautiful things that I do is I hire a lot of women. And the one thing about hiring a lot of women is they're generally more capable than men. Sorry, men, it's true. But also, they have a little bit of an inferiority complex where a personal drive that they're going to get it done. So I never have to motivate them. Guys, I have to try to motivate them. Women, I have to say, calm down. You're good. You're good enough. You've got it. Go to sleep. Stop worrying. Tomorrow it will be okay. And that's a much better job. When you meet somebody and you know they have that drive and the ability and the capability, and all you have to do is say, it's okay. Don't worry. Because I'm not a worrying guy, right? I'll take the belief. I'll take the vision. I'll take all of that. You just calmly do what you do. And that has been the key. 9 of my top 10 employees are women. And they are absolutely phenomenal. And they're all way above what they ever dreamed they would be doing, especially in our company. Yeah. And all I have to do is every 3 or 4 months when they come to me, because they're always like, they'll say, I've never done this before. This is getting so big. I've never done this. And I'm like, welcome to the world. No one's done this before. You're doing great. Look around. Do you really think there's somebody else out there that could do this better? And they'll say no. And I'm like, exactly. So that's one of those big keys.
Wow.
My girlfriend is in Boston. She's trying to call me right now. So if you just got a little bing, that's what that was.
That's fine. That's fine. Wow, I love that. Okay, so I've got a question for you that just came to mind when you were speaking then, and around 9 of your 10 top employees are women. So we're publishing this reimagined style compilation coffee table book. And we have been marketing for women and men. We want absolute diversity, thought leadership from all over the world, from both men and women. Do you think I can find a man? What is going on? I'd love your take on this. What's going on in the world at the moment where women, and there's some very successful women in this book, really successful women, and for some reason, when I speak with guys, it's like, I don't know if their mindset is, one guy said, well, it's women's time. And I'm like, why can't it be both of our times? Why does it have to be a man's time? And now women stay home with the kids, and now it's a woman's time, and men are now being home dads. Why can't we both rise at the same time? I'm curious. You have a lot of employees, you have a big company, you're out and about, and you're a straight shoot talker. Tell me what's going on here. I'm sure friends listening, you're going to have this question as well, because it seems like women are stepping in, they're investing, they're profiling, they're going out there doing media, they're doing speaking events, they're doing TEDx, and the guys are just, I don't know, what's going on?
Well, I do think that people are very different. All people are. Doesn't matter guys or women, but all of us are just very different people. I know I am. For me, I don't work with as many men, mostly because they never make it in the door of my company. And I'm going to explain that. Mm-hmm. We actually have a situation where if you apply, you have to write a 1-page reason why you want to work with our company, right? So first of all, you have to write. You wouldn't believe how bad some of the men are at writing. Number 2, it's a very different thing. When you read it, if you read it, you wouldn't let the men come to an interview. The women say, I love your company. It seems like a great culture. It's a team I would like to be part of. Many of the men say, you were looking for this person. I'm the right guy. I'm the best. I'm this one. And we're like, okay, idiot. I'm not going to spend a half hour or an hour interviewing this person, right? So you don't even make it in the door. The next thing I've learned is men think that there is a step or a pattern or a formula of you act this way and you move up this way. I've been in a lot of boardrooms with a lot of men. And there's that, what I talk about, that magic or that subtlety of, yes, that's what's being said at the surface, but what is here and how do those all connect? You have to be the person who can put those all together. And what I found is many times is that is not just, it's a lot of women, or it's men who have been pushed aside a little bit, who have had to, in their mind, understand the complexity of the world and realize it's not 1, 2, 3. It is this beautiful thing of people and relationships and connections and subtlety. There's so much subtlety in the world that some guys just miss. They just don't get it. And I am not in any way saying all guys are bad and all women are. I am just saying that subtlety and connection and the little things, along with belief and drive, they all work together. And I don't believe anybody can be anything. I find the best people in the world. I really do. But one of my secrets is I find people who don't even know how great they are yet. That's the real key. That they don't even know it. The guys already think they're this great. Many of the other people I hire, they're that great, but they don't know it. So all I have to do is like shine them up a little bit and go, here you go. And they're like, wow, look what you did. I'm like, I didn't do that. I just found you. Yeah. The young lady that I hire, her name is Adriana. She runs all of my stuff here in Mexico. I'm at my home here in Mexico. When I met her, it was in a conference room, and it was 8 guys at a big tannery that make one of the most famous tanneries in the world. Okay. And they're showing me leathers, and they're like, oh, this one is perfect for bags. And I saw this girl in the back corner going, mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, this one is perfect for this. And she's going, mm-mm. And all these 8 guys salesmen are like, this is what it is. And afterward, I'm like, who put this presentation together? And like, oh, that girl back there. I hired her. $6. She was making $6 an hour, 20 hours a week here in Mexico. She now runs all my employees in Mexico. She runs this huge, vast network. She's the most competent, amazing, brilliant person I've ever met. And they pushed her aside in the corner. And now I found her, and everybody is saying, where did you find her? And I'm like, standing right over there in the corner, right there behind the guys who were pretending they knew what they were talking about.
My gosh. So it sounds like what you're saying, Curtis, is that humbleness, that gentleness, yet I don't, the word arrogant came to mind, but I don't want it to sound negative, but it sounds like some of the men that you don't welcome into the company have got this real brashness. I'm really good. Let me show you. Whereas the women glide in, not believing they're good, but inside somewhere they must know, right? They must know, but maybe they haven't been given the right opportunity to flourish. Do you think that environment that you create, that safe space, that's supportive, right? That's watering them up to go, look at me now, I'm amazing. You've actually always been amazing, but you just were growing in the wrong garden. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's incredibly fair to say. I wouldn't call it a safe space. That sounds like a very thing, because I do push people. I do. When I said 9 out of 10, the one guy that I work with is completely opposite. I have many, many college degrees. I was in college for so long because I didn't want to get a real life, right? His name, I call him Maverick. He was the second in his high school graduating class, only because he was homeschooled with his brother who's smarter than him, right? So he never went to college, and he runs our marketing budget, right? When I met him, he came on at 15 hours a week at $12 an hour. He now runs a $30 million a year marketing budget, and he runs this entire team, and he's brilliant. He's absolutely driven, but for a different way, right? He's got to prove to everybody that you don't have to go to college to be able to grow the way that you want. So he's always got that chip on his shoulder, just like I'm the youngest of 4 boys, or this happened to me. It's this little extra drive that it's just this little energy inside of you that pushes you a little bit farther. And I love seeing that magic. I love bringing that on. There's not a safe space.
Mm.
What I mean is I'm very nice. When I'm on here, I'm animated in my whole life. Okay. There's no doubt about that. But I'll be nice, nice, nice. And then I'll say, you're better and you're smarter. Stop messing around. It is a waste in this world if you're not better. You deserve me to tell you the truth and get your ass better because you are so much better than all these other people. I am not going to settle with you being average. You are going to be great. And they'll come back in 2 or 3 days and say, yeah, thank you. I needed every now and then someone to be not quite as safe. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not a really intimidating person. So even when I tell people to do that, they're not too afraid. They take it in a good way because I've set that up. My first boss, I've only had one job in my life. It was 3 days. I was a box boy at the grocery store, and the guy kept walking past me saying, hurry up, hurry up. And I was a very anxious young man, so I'm running around. I'm like, why is he saying that? And she said, that's his management style. For 30 years, all he does is walk around and say that. And I promised when I quit that job and walked out, I would never be that guy, right? And that's the one job I'd had other than creating my own businesses. So I look at each person individually and say, are they the person who's going to be in my company in 2 years? Because we're growing so fast. We're doubling every year. Like next year, are they someone who can run a $200 million company or a 300 or 400, $500 million company? Are they the right person? Guess what? They're the right ones. And I like them. They're just good people. That makes your life a lot easier when you surround yourself with some of the best people you know. Every day you get to see them. That's pretty nice.
Absolutely. And you've created that, right? Like attracts like. It's not a mistake. I had someone on the show the other day and she said something along the lines of, no one has time to work with jerks. And a lot of us go into business, right? So we can choose our clients and our team, because when I've come through corporate and you don't get a chance, you have to be nice to people that you can't stand. And so if you're going into business and hiring a team, you want to hire people that you want to go and have fun with and grow and push. We've got results to achieve. But I heard something earlier that you said just before, and you said it's like that little chip on the shoulder. It can be an advantage to have that because you can get things. Well, I guess that person is trying to strive and prove that they don't have a college degree, so they're going to work that little bit harder. So it's a little bit of that fuel, if you like. Is that what you were getting at before? It's like they have to, like, you're the youngest of four.
It's not. It can be. Yeah, it's not. It can be an advantage. It is an advantage.
It is.
Everything in your life, everything that built up to be you is your personal advantage. I don't care what it is. It is your advantage because someone else doesn't have what that is. All of what's created us where we are is our advantage. We just have realized it or we haven't realized it. Hopefully we realize it enough that it continues to go and realize this is a beautiful, amazing thing of why we're at this position. This is just so. Yes, there's just no doubt you have to have something. And here's the great news. We all have that because everybody's had something in their life. Maybe they haven't told you about it. Maybe you don't know. Maybe they haven't told themselves how bad or whatever that was. They don't realize it yet, but we all have a life of ups and downs that hit us the same way. Yes, some people's lives were a lot harder, but as human beings, even if life's not hard, we'll take that little thing and we'll take it in and make it hard. So all of our lives were relatively all sucky at certain times. There's your beauty of who made you and how can you take that to the next step. I believe in that 1000%.
Interesting, because when we had our pre-chat, I shared some things with you, and I don't normally do that. So it was interesting. I was obviously meant to share that before our show. And you talk about the universe, the wish granting machine. And I want to touch on this because when I heard that on your LinkedIn, I thought that's really interesting, that people aren't asking for what they want and they're being too quiet. They're being too introverted and they're just going nicey, nicey, nicey. Talk to us about that, Curtis.
Oh, yeah. I just came up with that a couple of days ago. So that's so
Love
funny.
it. Love it.
Thank you. It actually came to my mind when I was on my cell phone and I'm going through reels and stories and I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. And like a half hour of it, I'm like, wow, this is valuable information. I set my phone down and I'm like, I don't remember anything I just saw. Like there's nothing actually there. And sometimes these beautiful things we have are in our head. And if we don't get them out into the world and let them just bangs around in our head. And I've realized I'm not afraid to share my thoughts and my feelings and my goals and my happiness and all the other things that we're going to do. And the more that I put it out there, it's like being in a canyon. Some of it echoes back and I actually hear it myself. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good,
That's
like
really good.
you just telling me that. I said it out. It went on the world. You heard it. You said it back to me from Thailand. And I'm like, wait a second. I
I did
will
that.
now remember that 10 times, 100 times more than just when I said it, because now I've said it into the world. Someone says that meant a little something to me. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Can I say things to the world? Can I tell my friend, this is what I plan to do? Okay. Only three things can happen. They can not care. They can say that's a great idea, or they can say that's a terrible idea. All of those are good things. Oh, yeah. Remember when I came up with this graphic leather, I said, I can start this company. And she said, bad idea. That to me was the challenge. Now, here's the beauty. If she said that's a good idea, I would have accepted that as a blessing too. Does that make any sense? But if you don't put it out, if you do not say it, it does not happen. You have to put it out in the world.
Yes.
I wish you could see this beautiful home that I'm in. This is my beautiful home. It's a 45-foot tree here.
Oh,
Gorgeous home.
goodness.
And my pool is down here.
Oh my gosh.
I found this home because one morning I woke up and I said, I want to buy a house in Mexico.
As you do. As you do.
And everyone's like, come on, you have so much to do today. I was in Mexico. I had less than 22 hours before I flew out of town. And I said, I'm taking today off because I'm going to go find a house to buy. And everyone's like, you have work to do. You're not going to buy a house. You're just being you. And I looked around that day. I found this house at 8:30 at night. It was a famous soccer player's house. And I brought everyone in at 9:30. He kept his house open to show my friends. They saw it. We made an offer on it. And by the time we flew out of the country the next morning, we had this house, right? And people said, that's so lucky. And I'm like, no.
No,
I
went after
I want it. I told people, and they actually said, hey, if they'd said great idea, I would have said it's a great idea. If they'd said bad idea, I take that as a challenge and I move it to the next level. It's all the fuel that we have is already there. It doesn't matter what anyone says to you. Put it out in the world, take what they say back as a positive reason for what you're going to do. And things just, as I said, I'm a believer in this. Which granite machine of the universe? Magic. You can't move forward in this life out of fear. You move forward out of this beautiful thing that you know that it's going to work out. I believe that at 10,000%. You just move forward, and guess what? It magically, the path just goes in front of you. It's there.
Yeah, so true. My goodness, love that. So many great points in that. Friends, I know you're going, oh my God, this is amazing. It's just those little gold nuggets, but they add up to something amazing. So thank you so much. Now, when you talk about, that the people have that fear of asking, right? So you said, I'm taking the day off, I'm going to go buy a house. And you had all that feedback coming in, you got too much on, da-da-da-da-da. Where do you think the fear comes from when people are scared of asking? So I'll give you an example. So we do some crazy things as well, maybe not buying a house in 12 hours, but our own version of crazy, right? And so we've been married 30 years. We're currently traveling the world. We left home 3 months ago, children, grandchildren, beautiful home, friends, the whole deal. We're currently on an island in Thailand, making our way to the US and Mexico and so on to put this coffee table book together. And we had all the types of, you're crazy, what are you doing? The world's not safe, blah, 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 blah. The fear that comes when you put yourself out there, when you're out of your current environment, you're out of everything that you know and love, and you're getting on calls, inviting people to be part of a book or whatever it is. And you get no's, rejections, it's silly, it's not going to work, it's the wrong time. Why do you think people, one, don't ask, two, ask, and then when they hear enough no's, they pack it in? They don't have that gumption, that courage. What is it? Why do they then just go, that's it? I see so many people quit. when they get a few no's. And I had a producer on the show recently, a Hollywood producer. He made Dirty Dancing, Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat. Amazing man, Lawrence Kasanoff. And he said, you'd think me being Lawrence Kasanoff, I've made pretty much all the great stuff out there, that I'd get yes to everything. When I go and ask someone, they'd say yes because I am who I am. No, he said, I get it all the time. He even invited the Pope onto something and he got a no from the Vatican. And he said, but it doesn't stop me. He said, his book's coming out and it's called A Touch of the Madness. And he said, Shar, you've got that touch of the madness. You have to have a little bit of that crazy to create something exceptional. So where does this come from, Curtis? Let's dive into this before we wrap up today, because I think it's something that's important.
It's really important. And I don't know where the fear comes from. I know where overcoming the fear comes from.
Okay.
And where overcoming the fear comes from is setting enough little small things and patterns in our lives that you know that it's potentially going to work out. I mean, that's it. Because if you take any first step and it goes, you go back into your shell. You have to do some things and start saying, wow, that worked out. I had 9 no's and 1 yes, and now I feel better. Or I tried this and this, and now I succeed. And so you set a record so that your brain can look back and say, I know that when I step out, good things can happen. If you don't have that, if you're always in that room, if you're always at your computer, if you're always in your home, if you're never doing that, you are always screwed, because every step is a fear. And you have to have a pattern of, well, I've done this before. And if it went bad, well, I don't even remember that because it was not that big a deal. And if it went well, I'm talking about it 20 years later. So why not do it? I recently had a hero of mine, a very famous person. I heard that this person was in Leon, Mexico. And I'm like, really? I canceled everything. I drove down to where I thought this person would be. I saw him, walked up, shook their hand, talked to him for 2 hours. I said, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? They said, yes. Went out to dinner. We were hanging out. And this person said, Curtis, there's something magical about you. He said, I've been asked to dinner 1,000 times. I always say no. For some reason, I thought I should come out, and now I'm out to dinner. He literally WhatsApped me yesterday and wants to bring his wife down to Mexico to hang out next summer. And people are like, when I'm driving down to try to find this person, like, what are you doing? What are you going to say if you see this person? And I'm like, hello. I'm going to walk up and say hello. And the great thing is, you could see in his eyes when I walked up, he's like, uh-oh, do I know this person or not? Right? He was pretending like, hello, yes, I know you. I'm like, dude, come on, you don't know me. But how do you get the power to say, I don't know how you overcome the fear. I don't know that, other than setting the patterns that I've probably done this before in my life. And it didn't matter that much if he said, oh, hi, yeah, I'm a little bit busy. And I would have left and said, wow, still met him, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out that good. I've told this story 10 times and I'm ecstatic, right? This is literally a very fantastic thing, because now all of a sudden I'm getting WhatsApp notifications as they're talking to me every day. I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice.
I love it. So when I come to Mexico, I'm going to drive up to your house and say, want to have a coffee? Because, there's no fear in asking. And what's the worst that can happen? I told this story a while ago that a lady wanted to take a magazine from an airport lounge. And I watched this whole thing go down and she was so nervous. And the cleaner walked up to her and said, what's the worst thing that could happen? They're not going to take your birthday off you.
Yeah.
That fear of just picking that thing up and taking it. If they stop you at the thing and say it's $5, just pay the $5. So we should just be bold and do it. And what's the worst? So, when you want to,
I'm going to be me here a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said 3 times what's the worst. I don't love that.
Okay.
What's the best?
What's the best? Yeah.
What's the best?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, hey, okay, you just turn around. I don't think here, for good or bad, I don't think of the things that can go wrong. I don't obsess on the things that can go wrong. I don't know. What if he does this? I'm like,
what if he doesn't?
I don't even like, I'm going to make a list of the things that could go wrong in this. No. I'm going to say, hey, if I move forward enough in life, things are going to work out. Why? Because most people don't do that. Most people overthink. Most people already live in the fear. So what is my superpower? I actually walk forward. I don't just sit there and I'm not frightened by fear. I'm not frightened by fear. And where does that come from? Hell, I don't know, but I believe it's just built up year after year. And hey, when we're in a 1-car garage in Portland, Oregon, starting up a company. And we went and said, I want to move to this building because we want to move out of the garage. And everybody's like, oh, what if it doesn't work?
What if it does?
And I'm just like, it's going to.
Yeah.
It's going to. How do you know? Because if something goes wrong, we'll fix it.
Yes.
And if we need somebody, we'll hire them. And we'll tell people how great this product is, and they're going to love it, and we'll continue to grow. And we'll surround ourselves with good people, and we'll have coffee in the morning, and we'll laugh, and we'll love coming to work. That's that negative story I never tell myself. I just don't tell it.
It's like humanity's lost hope sometimes. I wonder, social media, Facebook, all the stuff that goes on in the news, I wonder if humanity as a whole, right? Not individuals, but as a whole, I wonder collectively if people have lost hope. And so they'll always look for what might go wrong. And sometimes I feel like they're doing it from a place of love, right? We had some people say to us, what if it didn't work? You go, well, if it doesn't work, we come home. Like, that's okay. We've had a fat time. We're traveling the world. We're living, we're eating, filming, writing. Like, it's all good. My husband's a ghostwriter, so he's diving deep into people's stories and writing books. Like, it's okay. We'll have our health and we'll have a great storybook of memories. And I think, but I need to know that we've given it a go. Right? Because I live life like someone left the gate open. And I talk about this a lot on the show, is that I really want to inspire people through this Impact 1 Million show to go out there and live life, take chances. You've heard Curtis talk today about all these things that he's done. And we know that there's some things that didn't go well. And if we had more time, we could dive into them. And that's life just lifing us. It happens. But you just pick up, keep moving. Right? Find another way. Curtis, as we wrap up today, because I seriously could talk to you all day, there's so many other things I wanted to ask you. Actually, let's touch on the ranch project before we wrap up today, because I think that's an important one to speak of. Tell us more about that.
We couldn't find enough good leather from the tanneries in the United States. So we had to come down to Leon, Mexico. This is the heart of the shoe business in North America. And so the leather was here. And I just happened to be walking past a person's desk in Portland, Oregon, and he was talking to somebody from the Oregon government saying, hey, do you guys know anything about leather hides? I saw you on the internet. You're called Portland Leather, so we're looking for someone who knows something. And he's like, Curtis, you want to talk to this guy? And I got on, and he basically said all of the ranchers in Oregon, they used to make up to 5% of their money for the ranches off of the byproducts. The hides and all the other things on it. And now, because they don't have any good tanneries to send their stuff to, they have to pay to have these taken to the dump and thrown away and pay extra money to do it. So instead of making a little bit of money, they have to pay tens of thousands of dollars just to throw it away. And 2 million, I don't know if it's 2 million hides or 2 million square foot a month. I mean, it's huge amounts in Oregon are just being thrown out because there's nobody to process them and put them together and turn them into the hides that they want to do. And so he's like, do you know anybody? And I'm like, I know every tannery owner in Mexico. Like they're at my house now. Like I of course I know. And so we just arranged to have a center area that the small ranchers with, just the small amounts of cattle, when they take this in, we can take the hides, put them on a truck and bring them down to Mexico and tan them and put them into our products. What that does is just put that money back into the ranchers' pockets. So it just helps them a little bit. I'm from Montana. Now, I'm not a rancher. I'm going to be very, very fair on that. Don't picture me as a rancher. But many of the people I grew up with, their families were farmers and ranchers. And I'm going to tell you, they literally get by the pennies and the dimes and the quarters, right? It depends on the year. It depends on the weather. Depends on egg prices. There's so many little things. And I'm going to tell you, it means a lot. So it's just a fun, better thing for us to say we're using some Oregon hides. We're setting this up. And so now we've had the state come and say, can we help put together a central facility in Oregon where all of these hides can be sent to, so even the small guy can have a chance, and then we send them down. So we got our first hides going through the system right now. We're making our first bags into it and sending them back out into the world rather than the dumps. Because what people don't understand is you hear people talk about vegan leather, which is just bullshit. It's just that term has been outlawed in Europe. You cannot say that anymore. Yeah, because it's a lie.
Yeah.
It just means it's not real leather, and it doesn't mean it's plastic pellets that end up in the ocean killing your fish, right? That's vegan leather. It's just a fun name to call something.
Wow.
Real leather is better, and it's actually better once it's tanned. It's biodegradable. It's a byproduct. It's getting thrown out anyhow, and now we can turn it into these beautiful things. It's just a small little thing. We heard about it. I knew the people. I got some of my great employees onto it. They're doing something good. I kind of forget about it. But every time I'm back in Portland, they're telling me about how the ranchers want to do more and more and more. So it's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it was important to touch on that. And it gives people an idea, right? How can we make a difference? We're ambassadors for Destiny Rescue, and we rescue sex trafficked children, some as young as 5, which is so sad. And we rescue 1 child per client that we feature. And people, might think, well, it doesn't make a difference, but it so does to that 1 child. That child could be future president or whatever in the future because she's had a chance to choose for herself. So it does make a difference. Curtis, tell us.
I apologize for cutting it. It's one of my favorite stories. I was telling an employee recently, and it's that famous starfish story about the young child who's walking on the beach. There's millions, and they're throwing the starfish back in the ocean, and they're like, "Look at the millions of them out here. You didn't make a difference." And they throw one and said, "It made a difference to that one."
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Beautiful, famous story that when you remember that, and each time that you say something, I have this game that I play, and I have these cards. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I never have them here. It's actually a card right here that gives away a free leather bag. It says, "You're effing awesome, Curtis Matsko," and it's a free leather bag. And if I'm walking anywhere in the world, or my girlfriend's in Boston, she sees somebody with our bag, she gives them one, right? I was in Dallas for the day, and I saw this girl walk by, and she looked very sad. She looked kind of like down. And I reached in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot my cards today. So I'm like, well, and I looked in my wallet. All I had was pesos and euros and a $100 US $100 bill. And I'm like, so I followed her a little bit. She looked at me.
Not creepy at all.
I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Hi, I'm not a weirdo. And I said, I see your Portland Leather Goods bag, and I handed her the $100. And I said, keep supporting Portland Leather Goods. And I walked off. It was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable the way she looked at me that I thought, I will never do this again. I will never, ever. I made her uncomfortable. 2 days later on LinkedIn, I got an email. And she said, what you don't know is I was so sad because my bank shut off my account. I was stuck in an airport. I had no money. And you walked up and handed me $100. She's like, are you kidding me? She's like, I was in shock. Like, I could not believe it. And because I thought I was uncomfortable because of how she looked at me, I was never going to be kind like that again. Are you kidding me? How selfish that would have been of me, right?
Oh,
so
my goodness.
The one little things we do, they always add up. They always turn out to something better.
Her wish granting machine, and you answered it. I love that. Love that story. I'm definitely going to be sharing that one, courtesy of you. That is brilliant. And you just, you intuitively just felt what was right at the time and did it selflessly without asking. And it's such a blessing that she tracked you down and messaged you, because that just returned to receiver, right? I love that so much. Really, well done. Yeah. Well done. Curtis, what final words would you have for people listening today? If they're thinking about how they can create an impact in the world, what would you say to them?
I would say this. Most people believe that the world is about thinking things, plotting them out, and that the success will come very, very quickly. It's exactly the opposite. You scramble and you scramble and you try and you try, and the success comes over a long period of time, right? Remember, the confidence that we gains steps on this, builds on this, builds on this. The success, the people, the number of people that you've helped, they're there now as a foundational support, that grows over time. Doesn't mean you don't frantically work your butt off, or frantically be kind, or frantically get out of the house, or constantly reach out, or show the hell up for people around you. You got to do those things. You got to do them all the time without reward, but I'm telling you, over time, it works. Don't think you sit there and stare at your computer and says, I'm going to change the world someday, and snap your fingers and immediately you get success. That's not the world. As I say, the universe is a wish granting machine, but it does it on its own time. You can't accelerate that time. You have to frantically do that, and then things change, right? So don't always do one thing and look around and say, where's my reward?
Yeah.
That's just not the way it happens, but it's a beautiful world out there, and I will not be convinced of anything different.
Yeah, totally agree. I love that. What a great line to wrap the show up on. Curtis, it's been amazing. And I'd love to check in with you when you hit $200 million, and I will say it right when you hit two. So please track me down when you do next year. And thank you so much for being on our show today. It's been a real pleasure.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day.